I'm really, really hot. That was fresh. I'm really, really hot.
Welcome back to Conscious Fever, hosted by Carl Price. You are listening to Conscious Fever, hosted by Carl Price.
Either way, I don't give a damn what you think you are entitled to.
Ladies and gentlemen, the moment you've been waiting for. So listen responsibly.
It's the best of the best. It's the one and only DJ Ice, Louisville's coldest DJ.
Get them all off me. Say down for L, she a cause, you see. 4 cars deep, we'll come through on a lane night. Chicken spot, wings and fries, we call that a day night. Lights on, sold out, I don't have no stage right. Knew that I was built for this forever, ever, ever.
You are listening to Conscious Fever, hosted by Carl Price.
We ride dance, 10 times 10, all my friends, this for real.
And we are back with more Conscious Fever, hosted by Carl Price Esquire.
Hey, good evening. Welcome to Conscious Fever here on Ice Entertainment Television and Conscious Fever Radio. Make a few adjustments here. Hope all is well. I'm here tonight with Paul Mullins. We are going to talk about a few things tonight, if that's okay with everybody. I'm going slow. I don't know if everybody can hear me. I guess they can hear me. Let me just do one other thing here. Okay, good evening. Welcome to Conscious Fever here on Ice Entertainment Television, Conscious Fever Radio. I am Carl Price, your host. Tonight we are talking about something very interesting. First of all, welcome back. I say welcome back to Paul Mullins, who's joining me here tonight. We are going to talk about the obvious. We're going to talk about the shot heard around the world, number one. And then we're going to pose this question, the reasons why, I guess we can say it that way, Biden should not drop out of the race. But we're going to talk about a lot of scenarios tonight. So anyway, this is Conscious Fever. I'm Carl Price, here live in Louisville, Kentucky, Ice Entertainment Television, Conscious Fever Radio. I'll be right back. We're going to be joined by Paul Mullins, and we're going to talk about some SHET. We'll be right back.
Time to run it on. No sleep, no rest. Might crash, might wreck. But first I stretch. Time to run it on. 9 out of 10 roll through my hands, I'm by my lonely. Turn to a savage, now my baby wants to hold me. I love my fans, don't need no friends, I got my homies. Thought I could trust you, I find out you tried to zone me. I'm number one up on that court, I'm Nick McGrady. The first one in, the last one out, can't call me lazy. Put in my hours, send the invoice and they pay me.
Sometimes you get used to that music and this play. I'm called. Here we go again. Now, why he let this rude ass crowd in here tonight? But anyway, I'm Carl Price. This is Conscious Fever here on Ice Entertainment Television, Conscious Fever Radio. Tonight we are sharp as a tack, and we're going to talk about the shot heard around the world, and also why Biden should not drop out of the race. Joining me tonight is a tonner, Paul Mullins, Attorney Paul Mullins. I'm going to ask the, get Paul's camera together. There we go. We got Paul in sync. Anyway, how you doing, Paul Mullins?
Good, Carl. What's going on?
Not much, man. The shot heard around the world and why Biden should not drop out of this thing that we call the race, right? So anyway, are you ready to dive into this, Mr. Mullins?
Why you call it the shot heard around the world?
The shot because
I mean,
it in fact was heard around the world.
But the title's taken, right?
Huh?
The title's taken.
It's taken by who?
That's what they call the first shot in the Revolutionary War. Okay, you don't care.
I guess I don't care. That's slave stuff, man. You talk about the Revolutionary War.
Not slave stuff.
Anyway, let's dive into this, man. Let's give some people something. Let them know where our heads are. Of course, you have me on a prohibited stick tonight because I can say what I really feel about the aim at Trump's head. You think it's more polite not to do that?
It's not more polite.
It's more devil,
It's evil.
But that was a bullet chasing evil.
What?
And it was a bullet chasing evil, and it didn't get evil. So I'll just leave it at that. I think people out there can read between the lines.
I can't believe you would even say. I can't believe you would even open up with that. And I can't even believe you would say that. Well, here's the problem.
Here's the problem. Let's just talk about the elephant in the room. The elephant in the room is that people are getting fired because they're commenting about where the bullet really should have landed and the real effect that they want the bullet to have, and that's not right. Now we're back into this culture of cancel culture where we're canceling people. The young lady, I think she was working at Target or Home Depot, right, and a guy approached her from the MAGA movement and said, you posted that. Why'd you post that? Yada, yada. Now she's fired. That's ridiculous. She has a right to say whatever she wants to say about where the bullet should have landed and what effect the bullet should have had on his life. But when she said that, she gets canceled. That's not right. And then I was in the courthouse. You saw me talking to a group of people who were employees
so they couldn't talk about
of the circuit court clerk. And he said, we can't talk about that. We talk about that, we'll get fired. What about their First Amendment rights? But I understand. You join this organization, there's policies, and you have to follow the policy. If you don't follow the policy, you can be fired. But to the extent that those policies restrain your free speech, I disagree with them. So I think people, because the reality is, Paul, I'll say this real quick and I'll let you talk. The reality is that there were many people who had very, very bad thoughts of how that bullet should have landed on the former president. And, and they have a right to express that. If we turn the tables, and that was Biden that got shot at,
right,
we wouldn't be having this. I mean, people wouldn't be saying, well, don't say too much about that. And the MAGA movement would go crazy.
They'd have posted it. It'd have been everywhere, and they would have said, who's next? I agree with you, and I'm concerned that, people at the courthouse are afraid to even say what they're thinking because they're afraid they might get terminated. And the lady at, as you said, Target or Home Depot, who got terminated, I mean, we should be allowed to express it. And the people around them should be able to shut them down, but you shouldn't be fired or lose your employment because you have an opinion that no one else thinks is fair, is right. If you were to come on the air and say that you thought we would have been better off if Trump had been hit, I might shut you down. I might say you're probably an evil person or whatever for wishing death on anybody, but you have the right to say that, and people have the right to say it now.
You'll probably be playing Santana. You gotta change your evil ways,
right,
baby.
But you have the right to say it. But I don't think you should lose your job. I think your peers can talk about you.
That's why we work for ourselves, Paul.
Oh yeah.
We can say what the hell we want to say. We can actually reap the full benefits of the First Amendment.
Right.
But anyway, I you know my stance on that. I am a Christian, so I don't wish death on anybody.
I ain't heard
but I don't, I'm not going to go too far. I'm not going to say anything more about that. But I wouldn't have lost any sleep. Wouldn't have even watched the services.
That's not a Christian thing to say. I just want to point that
no,
out.
I know. I was just saying that. Listen,
Literally just said I'm a Christian.
I would have definitely prayed for his family.
Lies.
That's not a lie. I would have prayed for his family. I mean, he's got a son. I'm a father with a son. You lose a father, even though he's almost 80 years old. So you would have
got on your knees at night, and as you was going to bed, said,
I get on my knees every night before I go to bed and pray. So I would have just included, Lord, keep watch over Ivanka. No, not Ivanka. Melania. What's the name? I mean, I don't pronounce Russian names very well. So his wife.
You still missed him.
you said what?
You missed him.
No, but here's the thing. I would have treated him the same way that any Christian should treat him, and pray for his family. But I think what you're really asking is whether I would have ran out into the streets and celebrated. And no, I wouldn't have celebrated the death of another man. But I'm not going to sit here and lie to you and tell you that I would have been in my bedroom boo-hooing or in my kitchen boo-hooing or came into my office holding a candle for a vigil. I wouldn't have done that.
I wouldn't have done that either. But I
think he's an evil man. I hope he doesn't become the 47th president of the United States. But anyway, back to your point.
Yeah, I don't think he is somebody that I would have cheered had he been killed. In fact, you've heard me say I want the opposite. I want the man to live, and I want to have him lose the election, because I think him losing the election kills his MAGA movement. If they can't win elections, because they've been losing the congressional elections and the other local elections, if they lose the elections, that's better than killing the man. You kill his whole movement and idea, and I think that is a better metaphor. And I don't think that people are going around acting like Joe Biden had a hit out on him. I mean, the facts have come out.
And that's BS. The
facts have come out. This kid is not a Biden supporter. The killer, he's not a Biden supporter. He was a Trump supporter. Now, how does that play in? The MAGA party is so violent and right-wing that they're killing themselves, just like McCarthy got eaten by his own people and kicked out of office, right? So MAGA is eating itself, and you've got people so fired up and so emotional and so angry.
Did you say MAGA or maggots?
That's the slur, right? So,
I was asking a question.
I could have said maggots, but I thought I said MAGA.
You said MAGA, okay.
But
if the maggots are going to fight each other, I mean, they did get into a fight. Matt Gaetz and McCarthy got into a little squabble.
They're eating each other.
Oh, and by the way, now I'm not watching the Republican convention. I haven't at all. I'm definitely not watching the speech tonight because I know he's going to tell a lot of lies. But I did see Rudy Giuliani take a fall. Did you see that?
I saw the meme. I didn't see the actual live.
Man, he came and it was like he was drunk. Maybe he had that dye running down his side of his face again, but he fell right head first into those chairs. And, I know I'm not supposed to laugh, but that was funny.
Well, I mean, we watch videos called Watch People Fail all the time.
It's kind of like the lawyer we were talking about that stutters.
Well, we watch people fail all the time on those YouTube videos, falling, and we laugh.
Right, and we laugh. I mean, I'm entertained by those. But digress. Did you think that was funny, the stuttering lawyer?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
No. Talking about from My Cousin Vinny? Yes, that's what you're talking about?
No. But he stuttered like My Cousin Vinny. And the courtroom was full. And we were just sitting there like, okay, we got to get it out because we all have cases. We got to go. Come on, get it out. Get it out. So we won't say any names.
You disgust me. That you would even say that. You've had stuttering problems of your own and when you were growing up.
I was a stuttering.
Okay, so how can you sit here and talk about that?
What do you mean? How can I sit here and talk about that?
You can't go from somebody who was of that nature, with a stuttering problem, to curing yourself and then said, "Oh, I can make fun of people." No, man.
No, I'm not making fun of people.
You literally just made fun of somebody.
Here's what we do. Here's what we do in the real world, man. Here's what we do in the real world. We talk about things that are funny. Okay, we talk about things that are funny. Now, you may think I mean, sometimes you get a chuckle off of things, and that's why people laugh in private and in silence.
Well, you get a chuckle
because they don't want to offend anybody. I don't intend to offend anybody. I thought that was funny.
You just did.
Did you think the guy stuttering in My Cousin Benny was funny?
Yeah, because it was pretend. It was
How you know it was pretend? Maybe he had a bad day.
All right.
And the whole courtroom was just like, okay, come on, get it out. But anyway, I did have a stuttering problem when I was
So I don't understand why you don't have sympathy for people.
And because I mean, I didn't say I didn't have sympathy for it. Anyway, back to your point, man. I don't want to interrupt your point so severely.
Well, I was headed towards the direction of talking about the shooter. The shooter was clearly MAGA. He was clearly a Trump supporter. I've talked about it to other people, but they try to make it seem like he was somehow a pro-democracy or liberal or progressive because he donated $15 to, allegedly donated $15 to a progressive party when he was 17. And I'm thinking, if that was him, number one.
What's his age now?
He's 3 years later, 20.
20.
Yeah. So if he donated at age 17, who's to say that he didn't donate it because some pretty girl got his attention and said, we need $15 for this cause? He'd have done it in a heartbeat.
Right.
But he's pro-MAGA through and through. He has the MAGA in front of his house, the MAGA shirts. He was in the clubs. All the people at the high school said he was pro-Trump. It doesn't make sense.
So has the FBI or the Secret Service, has any of those agencies developed a motive?
No. And it doesn't make sense, but I mean, do you need motive for crazy, honestly?
No, you don't need a motive for crazy, but I guess I'm just trying to figure out if they were talking about, I mean, I know everybody wanted to know if they're, what was this guy's motive and all of that. And
what they wanted to know was he a Democrat? Was he a liberal? And can we throw him up on a cross and blame all liberals for that? That's what they wanted. That's the reason why this story has died about this kid and everything about him is because he wasn't a liberal. That's the big thing. If he was a Democrat or an Antifa, because that was the first thing I heard an hour after the shooting, all I heard on TV was this guy's probably Antifa. Yeah.
Supposition at the very beginning. So, go ahead.
As soon as you figure out he's not Antifa, then all of a sudden, the story goes away. But no, the bigger story is why is somebody in MAGA shooting at the ex-president?
Well, we can talk about conspiracy theories.
I know what you would say.
We talk about conspiracy because there's a great deal of people in this country who believes that it was staged, and I think that and I don't think that's an unreasonable thought. I don't think that's an unreasonable accusation. Why do you think it's unreasonable,
I think it's unreasonable because if I am trying to stage an attempted shot at me, I'm not going to leave it in the hands of a 20-year-old kid to shoot at me and miss. You know what I'm saying? And come that close. I'm not going to leave it in the hands of a 20-year-old.
If you believe that he shot, if you believe that he's the one that shot, we know that he was the one on the roof. We know that he was the one with the firearms. But I mean, has the investigation actually revealed that was the gun angle where it came from? It's kind of like a President Kennedy thing, right? There's all these theories about where the bullet really came from. It didn't come from Lee Harvey Oswald and all of that. And so at the end of the day...
So he's just a patsy, 20-year-old patsy?
At the end of the day, I think that... Listen, Paul, you know that I have said this many, many times, and I'll say it tonight, that I don't believe that Jeffrey Epstein committed suicide. And I do not believe that I don't have any evidence, but that doesn't mean that I can't believe that. I don't...
is the earth flat, Carl?
No, listen, Paul. Listen, don't.
Did we land on the moon?
Listen, man. I feel like a Lion King tonight.
Bigfoot,
so don't.
Is Bigfoot real?
So do not tease me. Here's what I'm going to say.
Can you just ask me those questions? Is Bigfoot real?
I've never seen.
Did we land on the moon?
I can't.
Did we land on?
I believe we landed on the moon. Okay. So listen, but here's the thing. The thing is, I just forgot my thought because you were interrupting me.
That's good.
So we got to continue on.
What's his name?
Oh, Epstein. Jeffrey Epstein. So what I was saying was that Jeffrey Epstein, all that stuff behind Jeffrey Epstein.
Yeah.
Okay, he gets hung in jail. He's alleged to have hung himself in jail. And if you believe that, right, if you believe that he hung himself in jail, then you have to believe that the New York City jail is just a horrible place to be. But the reality is that when you arrest a high-profile person, people are paying attention, right? And Jeffrey Epstein comes up dead, and then when they look for the security footage, they can't find it. They said, oh, it wasn't working, you know? So, you know, at the end of the day, I don't put anything past this group that surrounds Trump. I have some questions about it.
You think they staged it to make it look like he survived an attack so he can get a few more votes? Like,
oh yeah,
that's a big risk to have a bullet graze your ear and kill somebody.
Nah.
You think the death of the extra person is on Trump? Now, speaking of that, have you heard the article or seen the meme about the lady who is the surviving spouse of the firefighter who got shot?
Yeah.
Okay. And she claims that Biden called her personally, but Trump did not after her husband got shot. I find that incredibly...
Yeah, but you stopped short of the fact that initially she didn't take the call. She wouldn't take Biden's call.
But then she took it.
I guess if that's what your source says, that she took it, and then Trump called at some point later. Here's what I believe. And I think that just tells us the character of Donald Trump. Mm-hmm. You know, at the end of the day, because I think if you're really concerned about the people, you know, you don't become a politician just for yourself. You become a politician for the people. Mm-hmm. You're there at the will of the people. You're there to support the people, to advocate for the people, and to represent the people. And the first thing you do is when one of your constituents gets harmed, especially at one of your rallies, you want to pick up the phone.
Should have called her.
You want to have your staff to pick up the phone and say, "Hey, listen," you know, or send them a card or something. And you don't go and play golf the next day and fail to do that.
Well, not only
without a bandage on your ear.
They're not making a big deal about that, and that's a big deal because the first thing he thought of when he was tweeting out the same day he got shot was, "My thoughts and prayers are with the family." How badly were they with the family when he didn't even call the family?
Right.
Or go to the hospital or have somebody. He don't have to go personally. Send somebody to find all that out. He didn't bother to do it.
Where does the gun debate go from here? Now, here all of a sudden we have somebody who legally bought a gun, but the gun control
it was his dad's
discussion
gun.
Doesn't come up again. Is the dad going to be prosecuted? Just, well, this is not a minor. So
I
guess
it was the dad's gun,
different.
And the strange part about the story is their alibi is they called the police about an hour before the shooting claiming they didn't know where their son was. This is all weird. Like, the whole story is weird, and nobody's talking about it.
Well, it's weird that a law enforcement officer went to the roof and then saw him up there and then came back down.
He saw him, claimed the guy pointed a gun at him, and he came back down. Didn't shout out, didn't radio. What is going on? With these stories are crazy.
Yeah.
And nobody's talking about it.
And it doesn't enter your mind that, so then when I question that, Paul, then you allege that I'm on some conspiracy.
Well, I'm not questioning the fact that it could be done, but I'm thinking to myself, if I am going to have someone shoot at me, it's not going to be a 20-year-old.
If you believe that the 20-year-old shot and not a sniper, and not a real bona fide grown man or grown woman sniper. Well, if you believe that,
I guess it's possible. And I know people are saying that Trump was looking in the direction
he was
in a weird way for a long time, as if he was waiting on a bullet. I don't know, man. That's just
and there was
too much.
A lady behind him. I saw some footage of a lady behind him. And of course, take all of this footage with a grain of salt, everybody, because everybody can manipulate video today. Mm-hmm. Literally, I can have an interview with Donald Trump right now, and y'all would think that it's him, but I haven't been and don't intend to go within 500 feet of that man. But I'm just saying that, but there was a video of a woman with glasses on, and she just kept filming after he got shot. Like, no panic, no response in behavior that you would expect of somebody who just saw somebody get shot.
And
that close to their brain.
She was behind him, but we haven't seen, I haven't looked for it, but you'd think that video would be the best video to show. No one's seen it. I'm not saying no one, but
nobody's seen her video, and I'm assuming that whoever she is, she's probably posted it on her page like a lot of people did. But at the end of the day, listen, the shot that was heard around the world was a shot of this. I just don't. Let me just put it to you this way. I do not believe the polls, whatever the poll. I don't pay attention to the polls because I paid attention to them in 2016, and that was a mistake, thinking that Hillary Clinton would beat Donald Trump, which she did by the numbers, but not by the Electoral College vote. But one of the things that I do pay attention to, I pay attention to all those other little small dynamics. Like I was telling you earlier, Paul, the attendance at the Republican National Convention this year is 20% lower than it was in 2016 or 2020. What does that tell us? Does it tell us that there are 20% frustrated Republicans with Donald Trump that have no intent of supporting him? But I don't know.
I'm still kind of caught up.
Those are just kind of the dynamics that I pay attention to. And I do not believe that with everything that I'm seeing, take that with a grain of salt, because everybody don't believe everything that they see. But with everything that I'm seeing, everything that I'm reading, the science that I put together, the thoughts that I put together, I just don't think Donald Trump is going to beat President Biden this time. And he didn't beat him last time. I don't believe it. And I've said it already. I'll say it again. It's because most people like me are voting for the lesser of two evils. You don't believe that there are two evils, but I believe that they're voting for the lesser of two evils. And they're left with a choice. They say, okay, I can say all these bad things about Joe Biden, and of course a lot of good things about Joe Biden, but his acuity bothers me.
But that's not an evil.
His stuttering bothers me. I know we can get into that debate, but I'm just saying, but you can say all of that, and then I think what they result to is that, but Donald Trump's worse. And so I tell people all the time that send me memes and things like memes. They send me memes and I say, well, so what is your point here? You're making fun of Joe Biden, but at the end of the day, how are you going to vote? Because at the end of the day, you know that the better candidate, depending on in every category except that Joe Biden acts like an old man. Other than that, in every other category, he beats Donald Trump hands down.
What do you think about that big ass patch on his ear?
I think it's an exaggeration.
Very much so.
I mean, because there was footage, so they said, I wasn't there, that he went out that next morning to play golf. Now, think about that, Paul. What kind of person, after suffering something like that, first of all, a shot on your life, they didn't shoot you in the shoulder, didn't shoot you in the leg, they shot you in your ear. I mean, a lot of people would go to bed at night thinking, should I continue to do this?
Praise Lord.
Is it worth my family and I going through this? People would do that, and they would pray to God and say yes, yes, yes. But he thinks he's God, so I guess he would have to pray to himself.
I mean, you know what?
But I guess what I'm saying, Paul, is that who does that, right? And then you get up the next morning and you have a tea time and you go golfing and you don't have that big patch that we see right there on his head, on his ear. Now I understand that there probably should be a patch because if his skin was pierced, the likelihood of some type of infection to develop is a concern. But I don't want to sound like a conspiracy person, but I just have so many questions about that looking from afar. And maybe if I were one of his doctors, but I've read some reports about nurses that have some questions. So I don't know. I don't put I brought up Jeffrey Epstein because I don't put anything past this group. I think Jeffrey Epstein was killed because he provided so many young girls to so many people, right? Even Bill Barr's father. I don't think you know that. Even Bill Barr's father's name was mentioned around Jeffrey Epstein. Why not kill this man? It's easier to kill this man than it is to keep him around and bring so many other people down, namely powerful politicians. So why not kill him? So I have my theories about how you have such a high-profile person in your custody, and all of a sudden he gets lost like a nobody in the jail and is able to hang himself. I don't get it. And so I think it's all tied together. If they can kill Jeffrey Epstein, if you believe that, they can do anything.
So you're back on Jeffrey Epstein.
No, I'm just saying I'm back on using that as an analogy.
So as a Christian person, because you claim that, not claim.
No, I don't claim.
Okay,
I am.
Fine. You get shot.
Don't insult my Christianity.
Just follow my scenario. You get shot. It grazes your ear. That means another inch in the other direction, it hits you in the head.
Right.
What do you say when you rise up?
Get me out of here.
Okay, well, what do you profess when you rise up, thinking I almost got killed, and you're a Christian?
I'm professing that, thank God, it missed me.
Do you hear Trump in any of his tweets or any of his statements praise Jesus or God, or say thank the good Lord, or God is great, or God save me? None of that.
He commissioned.
Where are the evangelicals? Well, that was the first thing that they would say.
He commissioned a T-shirt that says "Fight, fight, fight."
Where are the evangelicals? The man got shot. It missed him. It is a miracle of God to them, and he don't even give thanks to the Lord.
The evangelicals simply just want to women to not abort, so babies can come in. They be sold into foster care. They become nothing and nobodies because nobody wants them, but they don't want the women whose health is at risk to abort these babies.
Christians, get out your Bible, read Revelations, false prophets, end times. I've been saying this for a while, and I'm not a religious person. You know this, Carl. I'm not. But if I'm just reading the Bible and it tells me,
he said Revelations.
Right.
So it makes me think about hallelujah.
Again, if I'm a Christian and I read the Bible,
salvation.
If I read the Bible and I'm looking at Revelations, everything that he's doing is lining up to be the false prophet. They think he's Jesus. They think he's Jesus.
Oh my Lord, God is mighty.
Can you stop?
Yes, my Lord, my God is omnipotent. My Lord,
we back in church?
My God. You said Revelations. I just thought about that.
Okay,
song.
But I'm just saying, he didn't even praise God for his safety.
No, he did.
And they're not picking up on it. And I'm.
But people's relationship with God is personal and it's different. So,
dude, anybody I know that I went to church with that I don't go to church anymore, but everybody I knew in that church.
You don't go to church anymore?
I don't. I'm just saying, I used to.
Are you atheist?
No, just listen.
Oh.
Everybody I know who would have almost gotten shot, even me, goddamn, even me.
And then they say use the word, the man's word in vain, name in vain.
I'm saying, Carl, even me. I would have woke up and I said, man, this is a miracle of God.
It's a miracle of God.
Get my ass to church.
Yeah. You said all of that stuff. But you got a way of using God's name in every sentence of a curse word.
I'm just saying I would have.
Yeah, well, you just saying.
Well, I would have.
I'm a duck when I'm around you. Make sure the lightning gets you and not me.
Every time something bad happens to, we all praise God.
We all. But here's the thing. Your heart beats very strongly, like it's a close call. And I'll share something with you, man. I was coming back from a gala.
I'm not saying he should have said it at that moment. I'm saying anytime.
No.
It's been about 5 days.
No, let me tell you. Let me just tell you about the feelings from close calls. This year, I was coming back from the Urban League Gala, and I got to Broadway. Right at 16th and Broadway, and literally, I was about 2 car lengths away from the intersection. Light was already green. I'm 2 car lengths away. And this old big Ford Explorer SUV, literally going about 80 miles an hour, just ran through that red light. And I paused just for a second and thought, if I were just a few seconds sooner, that would have been me. My car would have been over there in the bank, or I think it's a clinic or something there on the corner across from Fifth Third Bank. And I thought about that. And it really caused me and it really bothered me. Because literally just a few car lengths away from just being killed. And so I think about that, and I think about the fact that here comes a bullet and it's that close to my brain. I'm not playing golf the next morning. No. I'm going to need to talk to a therapist. I'm going to need some time to myself. I'm just going to need some time to chill and
Almost
say,
got shot.
and I would really think to myself and bring my family together and say, should I continue to do this? I'm only a target because I was there on that stage. And this man didn't do any of that. That's why I question the vitality.
Well, do you think the Democrats if you were a Democratic strategist, would you use the fact that he acted? Well, he didn't act in what Christians would expect him to act like by not. I mean, I've not heard him one time.
I would
come
do
out,
a lot of things.
I mean, I haven't heard him one time come out and said, "Thanks be to God that I'm." I ain't even heard you. You would think that even guys in sports, they thank God when they win a championship.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
I would. I forgot what your question was.
I said, if you were a Democratic strategist doing commercials,
I know what I was
would you use that?
Listen. I would do a lot of things different than what the Democrats do. I would just do a lot of things different.
But would you use that as an attack on his faith?
I don't think it matters to the evangelicals who like him. I mean, if you can grab a woman's PUSSY, like he said, and that doesn't bother them, if you can call 2 Corinthians, which anybody in Christianity knows that's the correct pronunciation, 2 Corinthians, that's an indication, by the way, that you're ignorant of Bible instruction.
And what you say you're not ignorant.
And you can sexually abuse a woman, and a court of law finds that you did. You can defraud people to the tune of 34 felony counts of a conviction. I know you think that case was weak, but I'm just saying, when you do all of that and these people stay with you, they have some affinity to this man that we cannot quite understand, that we cannot identify. There is some affinity to this fool. And so, listen, if those things don't move it, because Paul, as well as I do, all it takes is just one or two things, and you're canceled, right? Like one felony conviction for any other like Menendez just got it. They're calling for he just got convicted, and they're calling for his retirement, or resignation. And so, I think that we put too much into the fact that you've been a former president and you should give all of this leeway. We've said this many, many times before. In the legal system that we work in, we have never seen anybody that has access to a private plane that can leave this country in this airspace at any time, that has a passport. We've never seen anybody with 34 felony charges, just charges. I'm not talking about convictions, to still be able to move around like he moves around. And so when he talks about, I'm just like you, you're not just like these people who are charged with felonies, because most of them don't see the light of day if they have one felony charge. If you have 2 felony charges in federal court, they are going to keep you without a bond, period.
I think Trump is just going to eventually defect to Russia.
Well, maybe he will do that, but I think that, what do you think is going to happen? Because I think he's going to lose the election. So what do you think is going to happen once he loses the election? Do you think it's time for him to go?
He's going to fly over to Russia and be safe. Listen, I don't think we really skipping the big elephant in the room.
What's the big elephant in the room?
The documents case got dismissed, which I think is.
Well, let's talk about the documents.
Well, I think it's huge because
maybe.
No, it's huge. The documents case is huge because he's alleged to have had nuclear secrets in his Mar-a-Lago state with all the people traversing through there, and now Russia has taken the position of, if you haven't seen this in the news, your nuclear missiles against us are futile now because we figured out a way to neutralize them. So we fire missiles at Russia, they scramble our signals, and our missiles land as duds.
And shouldn't that cause everybody pause to have Donald Trump back in office?
Correct. I mean, it's like, our nuclear secrets come up missing. Now all of a sudden Russia's saying they can defeat our nukes. Yeah, that's a problem. I'm in the conspiracy on that one.
So let me talk about the documents case. First of all, the dismissal of the documents case, I don't think is a surprise to anybody because she has been in Trump's corner the whole time. The motion that was filed was a BS motion by Trump's attorneys. No federal judge would have ever sustained the motion to to dismiss
because you picked the wrong prosecutor.
No. They said that the prosecutor was not lawfully appointed. That there is a process. In other words, that he has to be a member of the DOJ, the Department of Justice, and the Attorney General staff. Which makes no sense for a special prosecutor because then you don't have the independence.
That's the purpose of a special prosecutor.
Right. I mean, when they appoint a special prosecutor in the federal system, they basically have him as a special person, special because he's not a part of the DOJ staff.
Right.
And even though on paper he answers to the Attorney General, the Attorney General is cautioned to give him as much independence as possible so he doesn't answer to the Attorney General. He literally is a new Attorney General that is unelected. And so my concern that I don't have about the documents case is that it's coming back.
But you say that, but you forget that the cases get appealed ultimately to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court has already shown they're in the bag for him when they said, yeah, we're going to grant you immunity. Like, that was the case where we said there's no way they're going to grant him immunity, and then they did. Yeah, but there's no way that the documents case is going to get dismissed until they dismiss it.
Right. Listen, I'm not afraid of that case going to the Supreme Court. I think that's I'm not.
You think the Supreme Court is going to uphold something that can get Donald Trump in trouble? Because I don't
know. Maybe they won't. But all I'm saying is that I know we thought about, but the immunity question was never a question that was decided before. And this question I think has never been decided before too. So you might be right, Paul. But here's the thing. At the end of the day, I don't think the documents case is gone. I think it's coming back, and even if it goes to the Supreme Court,
it's gone. Not even if it goes to the Supreme Court. The only way it can't go to the Supreme Court is if the Court of Appeals upholds it. Which, assume that's not going to happen. It's going to the Supreme Court.
Hey, Paul. But you know what? They can. You do know that she dismissed it without prejudice, right? So all they have to do is just go through whatever process she claims that they have to go through and then reindict it.
It's still the problem is if you don't understand. Trump's whole thing is I get elected, I can stop all this.
I understand that, but
so let me finish.
Let's consider the scenario that he doesn't get elected.
But if I get elected, I can continue this process. If I get elected and she's ruled that the special prosecutor can't have it, I can then just tell my new DOJ not to prosecute me.
Of course.
And whatever. And I'll be dead by the time they actually get to court. That's been his strategy for every single lawsuit he's had, not to get to court.
And I think that's wishful thinking because I don't think he's going to win. So, if he wins, then we all know what's going to happen.
So when you say that I don't think he's going to win if he wins, this man was one single individual away from stealing the election, which I have to constantly remind people of.
What do you mean one single individual away?
Mike Pence. Mike Pence, the dude in Florida, forget his name, the guy in Georgia, he's a few people away from just flipping the election. Like if the guy in Georgia said, you know what, Trump, I'm all in with you. I found your 11,000 votes. We got a different outcome. If he goes to the guy in Arizona and the guy in Arizona says, Rudy, I know you don't have any evidence, but you got some good theories. I'm all in with you. It's a different animal. And then if Mike Pence had said, you know what, Trump, I think I do have the power to stop the process, it's a different animal. All I'm saying is his goal is to get the people in place to make sure that the shit don't get fucked up the next time. And that's before he's even president. Meaning we got Republican MAGA people here, Republican MAGA people there. We're going to do this shit the second time the right way.
Well, maybe that's a discussion. Now you're talking about Project 2025, which is a whole discussion on and of itself. But we're going to take a quick break. And then when we come back, we're going to talk about, if we can, Paul, we're going to talk about why Biden should not bow out. It's Conscious Fever. I'm Carl Price, ICE Entertainment Television, Conscious Fever Radio. We'll be right back.
Time to run it on. No sleep, no rest. Might crash, might wreck. But first I stretch. Time to run it on. 9 out of 10 roll through my hands, I'm by my lonely. Turn to a savage, now my baby wants to hold me. I love my fans, don't need no friends, I got my homies. thought I could trust you, I find out you tried to zone me. I'm number one up on that court, I'm Nick McGrady. The first one in, the last one out, can't call me lazy. Put in my hours, send the invoice, and they pay me.
I'm gonna run it over. I like that guy. That guy's got a nice voice. So anyway, Carl Price, Conscious Fever, Ice Entertainment Television, Conscious Fever Radio. Welcome back. So, Paul, let's talk about the other topic that we talked about, why Biden should not drop out. Let me start by saying this. I do not believe that Joe Biden should drop out of the race, and the reason is because, it's plain and simple. I'm going to spend a lot of time with this. I believe that he's going to beat Trump again. He's beaten him once. I know he was a lot more movable at that time, but he's beaten him once, and I don't think there's going to be a problem with him beating him again. It might be close. I'm not concerned that about 7% of black folks saying that they're going to vote for him. That's not enough to sway it. Because when you look at that 5 or 6 or 7%, they're saying, well, we're going with Trump this time. There's about 27% that's saying of white folks that are saying we're not going with Trump. When you look at the demographics, Paul, and I'll just say this and I'm going to let you talk. When you look at the demographics, there are people in Ukraine who have an interest of keeping Biden in office. Okay, and there's a lot of Ukrainians over here who are registered to vote. I'm not going to say that it's 30%, but there's a lot of them. When you look at the other, what he's talking about in terms of the visas, he's going to change everything about the visas law for immigrants except the ones that apply to Melania, and possibly his son. But I think his son's an American citizen. He's born on American soil. We think could have been born over there where she's from. But at the end of the day, is the law conceived here too? I think the law is conceived here too, right? So in any case, so at the end of the day, I think he should stay in the race, and I think he's doing okay. I mean, I think that it was a bad debate, but history tells us that everybody had a bad debate. Every president that was in office at the time, that first debate was a bad debate. Remember Donald Trump's first debate against Joe Biden? Wasn't good. Remember Obama's against the Utah senator? He was running against for the second term. It wasn't good. Remember George Bush's against?
Nobody remembers.
Well, nobody remembers, but I'm telling you, George Bush's was not so good.
Nobody remembers.
Against the guy that the Supreme Court gave it to George Bush. Who was that?
Gore.
Gore. So in any case, just plain and simple, I think that Joe Biden's going to win this election because people just don't want Trump. And I don't think people are voting for Joe Biden. I think they're voting against Trump.
Well, okay, so my take on it is nobody remembers debates. I know you said that they weren't.
They do.
They remember ones where you have serious issues, like people remember Dukakis and his crazinesses. They'll remember this one. Nobody remembers debates, but they'll remember this one. But that's not a reason to bail on Joe Biden. Number one,
they remember Reagan's debates.
It's too late to bail on Joe Biden. Yeah. Democrats, if you wanted a different candidate, you should have had a primary. You didn't have a primary. So let's quit thinking about just replacing a guy, because that's not a democratic system either, to just push him out. Who are you going to put in? You're going to say some people are going to want Kamala. Some people are going to want Gavin Newsom. Some people are going to want somebody else. You don't have a consensus of who to make next.
It's a death sentence.
You didn't have a primary, so give it up. Support the guy who's there, because he's the one who's already raised the freaking money to begin with. Let's say you put Gavin Newsom in. Well, that means Kamala Harris can't be his vice president because they're from the same state. So she's out. So now you got all the people who think Kamala Harris is the next presidential candidate. It's going to be a tussle. How do you pick somebody and have a consensus without pissing everybody off? You have a candidate, stick with him. He's got the money raised already. Number one. Number two, black people. Black people. If you want the first black president,
talk to the ones who can actually vote.
No, if you want the first female black president, my question to you is, stop fucking saying Joe Biden is unfit.
A lot tonight, eh?
Yeah, I am. And say he's unfit the day after he wins the election so Kamala Harris can take over. So shut up. Just shut up.
I know January.
Let him win.
January 22nd. Let
Right.
him win and
And then say he's unfit.
and let him fall off the stage, and
Right.
then Kamala's
Say
the
he's
president
unfit,
on
and then
January
she's the
22nd, and then no big deal.
Quit
But
being stupid.
but don't just you sound like Trump when you talk only black people. I think a lot of people will be like, okay, well, if Kamala's stand, I think a lot of women will be like,
I'm
okay,
glad
we
he
got a
picked
woman.
J.D. Vance because I think people will prefer her over J.D. Vance.
I think they would too. And J.D. Vance, you know what he said about, he said Trump was a fraud in 2016.
He's got a lot. He said a lot of bad stuff about Trump,
And-
but he does. It's just the phrase that I heard on TV, so it's not my phrase. But Democrats fall in love with their candidates, and Republicans fall in line, and that's exactly what they say. All this heinous stuff about how bad Trump is, and then they turn around and fall in line with him. Just how can you say something so vile about Trump? And then he picks you for vice president. Like, oh, okay, never mind.
I know Nikki Haley just looks like
Same
a fool,
thing.
doesn't
Yes,
she?
all the stuff she said about how bad he would be for president.
I know she is now. I mean, I was listening to her when she was running. She just seems sickening to me now.
Well, and so it gives the impression that politics is not worth listening to because you think, well, the Republicans did this and they just fell in line. And, well, the Democrats do it too. No, they don't. Democrats, when they stop supporting each other, they stop supporting each other. And maybe that's why the party's kind of fractured and falling apart. But, I mean, you got to have some principles. I can't get on stage and talk about how vile you are, how I'd never support you, and then turn around and be your running mate. Why would you want to be Trump's running mate when he tried to have the last one hanged? You know what I'm saying? Why would you do it?
Guess he's just like him. But, so
he's not the only one though.
So
Trump said something awful about one of the other people who turned around and licked his boots. Oh, Elon Musk. He talked about Elon Musk like a dog, and then Elon Musk turned around and gave millions and millions of dollars towards his campaign. What is he doing to these people?
No,
you know what he's doing?
It's just that they have these thoughts that he's gonna. He's got the balls to basically do some things that are unconventional that would help them.
But isn't that what's isn't that what the quintessential view of the Antichrist is? That he will, with his silver tongue, wow people and convince the masses that he's the next coming? Why are not people picking up on that? I don't think he's the Antichrist because I don't believe in an Antichrist. But if I'm a Christian and I believe in the Bible and I'm reading it, I'm like, well, this guy certainly looks like everything that Revelations is talking about. But they just overlook it.
I think in a country that is deeply divided, to be honest with you, I think that when you're in a country that's deeply divided, people are just going to take sides, and one side is going to be Republican and one side is going to be Democrat.
Well, why are they deeply divided? And that
type of stuff, like Nikki Haley and all these people who are Elon Musk are contradictory, they just swallow that. Mm-hmm. But I've always thought, this might get me in trouble, I've always thought that, I say this about a lot of our colleagues. They're just fools. They're just suckers. They're just, excuse my language, they're just sucker asses. They'll just do anything to keep themselves apart. And God forbid if you're wealthy. Wealthy people will do anything because a lot of times their only option is suicide if they get poor. So I really do believe that there are more common sense Americans in this country than we think. And I think that we're going to see that on November the 5th.
You know why the country is deeply divided? And I could blame it on one party or the other, or one person or the other, but here's the real reason why the country's divided. Trump won the election in 2016, and people say, oh, you shouldn't pick out one person. Well, let me tell you why I'm picking out one person. He won the election in 2016, and he never stopped campaigning. So what does it mean that he never stopped campaigning? If you never stop campaigning, you're always keeping your side tense. And what's the other side doing? They're constantly reporting on you, which is making the other side tense. So if you campaign from 2016 to 2024, you've got the entire country in a constant state of it's election time and we need to split and pick sides. So the country's been split the entire time because the election from 2016 has never stopped. Instead of going to work as the president, what did he do? He kept campaigning. He kept having functions where he would show up, crowds, people, and he just kept campaigning. That's why we're divided, because we're still fighting an election from 2016. It never stopped. And the more we allow...
2020.
No. 2016.
That's when they first got in.
Right.
But he lost in 20.
When he won the election in 16, he kept campaigning. He campaigned while he was president. He kept having rallies.
Right, but then in 2020, but you're saying he campaigned between 20 and 2024 too, right?
Yes,
okay.
He kept. That's why we're in a constant state of anger with each other, because he's still campaigning. And you can say, well, blah, blah, blah. But if he's campaigning and the other side's reporting, we're angry about that.
Well, my theory is a little bit different, Paul. My theory is that I think that naturally there's a lot of Americans who are angry, and there's a lot of Americans who are upset because they can't say that I wish the bullet hit Trump. And they feel restrained in that. And when I look back, I noticed that a lot of people who didn't vote in previous elections, one couple in Michigan said they hadn't voted in 10 years, in 8 years or something like that for a presidential election. And they did it because of Trump's rhetoric. Not necessarily his bad rhetoric, but just to have the balls to say things to suggest that you're going against the establishment. And there's an anti in a lot of us, believe it or not. We vote. That's why we have so many women judges, right? Because men still believe that women are the underdogs when they run for office. And America always roots for the underdog. And the underdog in politics is somebody who just says, kiss my ass and I don't care what you think about it. And Trump is that person. I think hold on, Paul. And I think that would be okay if he just made some sense. Come on. And it was not so divisive. If he had just made some sense. And when you ask about people who talk about the bullet and why the bullet didn't hit him and all of that, it's because people are just like, this is a man that has wished death on a lot of people. You're asking too much.
Trump is not the type of person to not be divisive, because he knows if I am divisive,
well, his speech tonight is supposed to be about unity.
Yeah, well, we'll see, and we'll see. I'm not gonna watch it, so I don't know how I'm gonna see.
I'm not either.
So I don't know how I'm gonna see, but I'm just saying, he is about keeping people riled up, so that's gonna be divisive. I mean, he doesn't get on stage and ever say anything that is just a speech, about praising XYZ. He's always got to throw an attack on somebody, and that's why I'm saying you're never going to get a Trump who is.
I mean, that's the basis of his unqualified status. He's got to. I don't think he knows any better, and his advisors don't help because he's handpicked people who are going to always go in line with him. And J.D. Vance is one of those people who's never going to oppose him. I thought it was great that he had 2 black men on this list, and they kind of thought that 3 black men that maybe this is my time. It didn't happen. The dynamics here is that you have 2 white men. You have running against an old white man and a black woman, and they're going to play the race card.
Well, Max is turned against J.D. Vance. They don't like
understand. They're turning against his wife. He's a white male. They're turning against his wife because
she's not white. Ethnicity?
Yeah, that word.
Because she's not white.
Because she's not white. So, there's a faction, there's a part of MAGA, not all, in my opinion. There's a part of MAGA that is just purely racist. And the Project 2025, when you look at it, it is literally a blueprint to appease only the wealthy and continue to making the wealthy wealthier and just basically piss on the poor. You've seen it firsthand from the Supreme Court. Mm-hmm. Now cities can arrest homeless people just for being homeless. So think about the young lady and her 15-year-old son and her 8-year-old son who's now not going to have a place to live, and they have to live out of their car or they have to live on the street if they don't have a car. And there's a lot of stories about kids who are homeless going to school. One in Louisiana got like $1 million in scholarships, but he had been homeless most of the time that he was going to school, high school. So what I'm saying to you is that when the Supreme Court comes out and says that it's okay to criminalize that type of status, I'm not going to say even conduct, because it's not conduct that nobody wishes. It's a status.
I'm sitting on the side of the road.
It can happen to anybody.
Right.
When I had cancer in 2010, I could have gone bankrupt. I could have lost everything, And if I ended up on the street, do I get arrested just because economically, I just can't survive in America. And so that's where we're going. And Project 2020, this is that decision by the United States Supreme Court is an introduction of the Project 2025, because it's almost like this whole thing about bootstraps. You know, Republican Party's motto is that, you know, you pull yourself up by your bootstrap, understand personal responsibility, do it on your own. And the problem is we've got a lot of people in this country who just don't have boots to put straps in. So you can't pull yourself up with those straps because you don't have them, because you don't have the boots to put them on. So I'll just say that a couple of things before I ask you the last word, Paul. Here's what I'm going to say. I'm going to say this. I'm going to say that people need to pay attention to a number of things, because when I listen to these candidates talk, I think about what impact is this going to have on me practically. Now, Paul, we're practicing attorneys, and one of the things that we know about being practicing attorneys is that one of the things that we know about being practicing attorneys, for the most part, is that we don't care who's in the White House. I mean, we still survive as lawyers in our practice, right? But I think about a president who is going to do and advocate for 100% immunity for police officers. I would be okay with that. No, listen, let me just tell you, under one condition I would be okay with that, if we really had qualified officers across the board. But the problem is, you know, we don't. And so when you're saying that even your mistake, it's still bad. Even if you did. No, just listen to me, Paul. Because I believe that only people that should have firearms are police. That's always been my belief. I believe that you get rid of all of that. You do like China. The only people that walk around with guns in their holster are police officers. No. But I say this because that if you give them 100% immunity, then every mistake, because that's all it is. They always claim that it's an honest mistake. We were trained this way, and yada yada. But can you imagine that your son riding down the street, he gets profiled, and then all of a sudden he gets shot, and there's not a damn thing you can do about it, and you can just see that the police screwed up? That's 100% immunity. People need to think about that, because when I see a lot of these hood Negroes with gold teeth in their mouth talking about Trump, like 50 Cent. I mean, you know, a police officer can shoot 50 cents in Connecticut or New York or wherever he lives and not get prosecuted on 100%. Nobody should have 100% immunity, not even the president, for official acts. So that's one dynamic. The other dynamic is that when I look at the fact that most people don't understand this, so I'm going to break it down for people. When I look at the fact that some black folks who support the MAGA movement, they talk about how the Constitution protects them. And I've got something to tell y'all. The Constitution does not protect you. Because if you get rid of all the Civil Rights Acts and all the amendments to the Constitution, guess what? All you have is a Constitution that only identified people of color, enslaved people, they said, and all of them were not people of color, but enslaved people, as only a fraction of a citizen. Well, you had a fraction of a vote. So then came, and the 13th Amendment did not abolish that. 13th Amendment said, you know, if you've been convicted of a crime, punishment for a crime, slavery is okay in this country. And all of those were in place, even when Jim Crow was the law. So this thing, the Constitution really doesn't protect you. All it takes is a vote. Just want to leave y'all with this. There are 435, and then you add another 60 senators, right? 100. So that is the number of the people that makes the decisions to govern, what do we say, 328 million people in this country? That's it. And if all this country has to do is put those people that think like the MAGA movement, and guess what? We get Jim Crow back. Guess what? The Civil Rights Acts are being abolished. The only thing that gives us the right to do and freely move and freely live and all of that today are the Civil Rights Acts. Mm-hmm. It's not the Constitution. It's not those amendments. You know, it's just the Civil Rights Acts. And they are and the Supreme Court has already taken a big chunks out of the Civil Rights Acts. So all I'm saying is that y'all have to keep that in mind, because when Donald Trump, last thing I'm going to say, when Donald Trump was in office, and he was in office his first year, he refused to fund fully the Justice Department's Civil Rights Division. And if you notice, The only reason there's a prosecution for those of you here in Louisville for Breonna Taylor is because of Joe Biden's administration. You know, right? This happened in 20. And then when Joe Biden took office, they came after the officers. You notice in Michael Brown, I think, was killed under Obama's administration. He sent the Department of Justice there. Donald Trump did not send the Department of Justice anywhere. And you know, Paul, every time somebody gets killed, like in Memphis, like Rittenhouse, all of that, those are federal civil rights violations where they can be prosecuted. He never sent anybody to protect those people in Wisconsin that were killed by that young boy who shouldn't have had a firearm. I know they say it was okay for hunting, but he shouldn't have had a firearm. So I'm just saying, people ought to keep that in mind. You can deal with all this rhetoric that's out here and talk about all this, but at the end of the day, the real dynamics, the real facts, the practical effect of what we're seeing is that we, people of color and poor people and immigrants or migrated people have a lot to lose in this country. So, Paul, I'll give it to you for your last words.
Oh, there's nothing to say. It's time. It's been a long show. All I can say is...
It's actually just been an hour. You just been talking a lot, but go ahead.
No, it's been long. It's been a long show. Been listening. A lot of listening.
There's a lot of traffic out there behind you, I see.
Yeah. So, at the end of the day, I think Christian Americans need to take a good look at Donald Trump and ask yourself, is he truly a Christian, and am I truly following a Christian leader? And ask yourself, what is it that I really want? Are you so hell-bent on the protection of an unborn child that you would let the devil in disguise lead you along?
You called him a devil.
I mean...
Devils are evil. Take away the D, you got evil.
So, again, Carl...
Less of the two evils.
If I'm a Christian person and I'm reading Revelations, all right, or anything about the Antichrist, all the signs, and I'm not saying he's the Antichrist, but I'm saying, if I'm a believer, he's got all the signs. He's swaying the masses. Now, if you don't believe he's lying, you got to ask yourself, the man stood on TV at a debate, and he said one thing that everybody should know is a lie, and he said, I did not sleep with a porn star. Now, he's lying to you, to your face. You paid the lady. She said you slept with her. She described your penis, and you didn't dispute none of that. But you'll get on TV and tell everybody, I ain't sleeping with no porn star. I don't know what you're talking about.
She described his penile direction.
Right. So
and lack of erection.
So you got this situation where you following somebody as a Christian who's not showing any Christian values. And you got to ask yourself, why are we doing it? Why are you doing it? And the second thing is another shot on Donald Trump's character. The lady whose husband was shot at Donald Trump's rally, who basically took the bullet that was intended for Donald Trump. His widow said the first person to call her...
A man took the bullet, but go ahead. You said a woman took the bullet for her, but go ahead.
No,
oh, you did?
Can I just...
Alvin Brown says religion is the Antichrist.
So the man who died, whose wife is surviving, says the first person that called her...
A firefighter.
Yes, firefighter. Was not Donald Trump, who should have been the first, but President Joe Biden, who he knew wasn't supporting him, but he said, I'm going to call her anyway. She didn't want to take his call. He could have said, screw her, she's a MAGA supporter. Called her anyway. Gave his condolences, and she had to have people know that Donald Trump didn't call her until 3 days later. I mean, he gets on TV and says how much he cares about her family. He don't reach out to her. He doesn't try to, say, I'm sorry this happened at my event where a bullet was aimed at me and it hit your husband. I'm sorry you got to go through this.
I'm going to pay for the funeral
Something.
services. Nothing.
No, nothing. You know what he made it about? I'm going to put a big-ass patch on my ear and walk around and say how much I got shot. That's disgusting.
Yeah.
The one who had the most to lose from calling that lady was Joe Biden. He had nothing to gain. She wasn't going to vote for him. That's character. So this ain't even you said a choice of evils. This ain't a choice of evils. There ain't no two evils here to choose from. You got one person who tried to overthrow the government. Overthrow the peaceful election and reverse it.
Peaceful transition.
Okay, whatever. If he could have got 3 people to agree with him, he would have done it. And you got another person who calls people he knows don't like him just to say, hey, look, I'm sorry. It ain't a choice of evils, Carl. Quit saying that. No, it ain't a choice of evils. Again, the scenario I say is you got a plate of old bananas that somebody asked you to eat and then a plate of dog shit. You tell me if that's a choice of 2 evils. I'll eat the old bananas. I don't even want to envision that, but okay. I bet you'd eat the old bananas in a heartbeat. You ain't gonna eat no dog shit. If you had 2 plates of dog shit, that would be a choice of evils. We ain't got 2 plates of dog shit. That's all I got to say.
Do we have a running tally of how much
cussing?
I mean,
this ain't a family show.
He used. Alvin Brown says Trump didn't pay her $130,000 not to have sex with him. She didn't answer the phone because her husband was a staunch Republican sickening. J.D. Vance is the mini-me of Trump. He lied about C-19. Okay. Well, Alvin, we have to get out of here. Anyway, I am... Yeah, have that camera move me over some. Okay, good. Paul, thank you for joining us tonight. As always, don't take everything off yet because you mess up the broadcast when you do that. He always does that. Wow. Doesn't he do that, Mr.
How does it mess it up?
He always does that.
How?
Anyway, this this has been Conscious Fever here on ICE Entertainment Television, Conscious Fever Radio. I am Carl Price, your host. I would just say for the election, just let it be. This version is by Young Man in Houston. Just let it be. I'm Carl Price. This has been Conscious Fever here on ICE Entertainment Television, Conscious Fever Radio. And we'll be back maybe next week. Maybe next week, Paul. Say good night, Paul.
Good night. Good night. I see what you mean now.
Yeah, you see what I mean. Good night, everybody.